Good morning, Patriots. Hello, hello, hello. Let's turn it off. That's probably a little better that way. Turn those speakers off. Good morning, Patriots. How are you today? This is Mike Cook coming to you live. Sorry about the echo there. I was listening to a little Keith Green before we started. Still had my speakers on. Needed to turn that off. Can't have the speakers that are right next to the microphone. They don't mix. Sound guy should have known that. Anyways, I hope you're having a great day. It is Mike the Patriot coming to you live from Central Missouri, God's country where freedom still exists. It is approximately 8:31 a.m. on 3/31/2021, the year of victory. It may take all year to get here, but it's coming. You know, Missouri is God's country. It's beautiful land. It's beautiful people. I grew up in Southern California. It's also beautiful in Southern California, but I can't say the same about the people. I got friends out there, and I got hair or something on my glasses here, and so I can't rag too much about California, but it's a great place to be from. I'm telling you. Anyways, moving on. So here in Missouri, this is something that just kind of popped in my head just a minute ago. As I said, we live in we got a supermajority House, supermajority Senate. We got a so-called Republican governor. But we live in a blessed place because our House, the Missouri House, just passed a bill for voter ID laws to demand voter ID. I mean, how great is that? But it's even better. There's a provision in the law, and it still has to go through the Senate, be signed by the governor. So who knows how this is going to hold up? But there's a provision in the law that says, and I don't know exactly the wording of it, but in essence, it says that each county, each precinct will not turn in or report their count until everybody does it at the same time. I don't know exactly how that's going to work, but that goes right along. As those of you that have been following me for months know that I was complaining that right after the election, one of the things that they would do is that these big blue cities, the Atlanta, Philadelphia, Detroit, Milwaukee, Las Vegas area, these big, huge blue cities with large population bases are always the last one to turn in their county. You ever notice that? Always the last one. It's always the next day or the day after, the day after, the day after, the day after, whenever it is. But the red counties, the red cities seem to, by 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night, they're all done. They're done, turned in, got the numbers in, did their due diligence because, the job is to count the vote and turn it in, right? I mean, I know that in my little town, our little clerk, I know him personally. I knew him when he was a kid. He's a great guy. He does a great job. It's like 9:30. It was done, counted, turned in. Well, they say, well, Mike, there's only 40,000 people in your county. So, it's a lot harder to count millions of people. There's a lot more people counting. Hello. There's a lot more people counting there than there are here, but yet here we're able to get it done. Percentage-wise, it's probably close to the same. Yet they still can't get it turned in. Why is that? Why is that? Because they're waiting to turn it in to see the spread. So they know how much they have to overcome. You see, because nationally, the presidential election is done by electoral college. But it is a popular vote within most of the states. And so it's not an electoral college far as county or precinct by precinct. It's electoral. It's an overall percentage of the vote. If you get 51% of the vote overall in the entire state, you win. If all that vote came from, like here in Missouri, St. Louis, you still win. So if you just wait for everybody else in the state to turn in their counts, then you know what the spread is that you have to make up in order to win. So they put that little provision in here in Missouri, and I caught that as they talked about it. It was just a little blurb on the radio, and it was the other day, and I said, whoa, I heard that. That's awesome. So I recommend if you're watching this, and if you have any influence at all in your state, that you immediately call up your state representatives and say, I want a rule put in that when they count the vote, that all the vote either it gets turned in but not announced, or it doesn't get turned in. I say doesn't get turned in, because if it gets turned in, even if it's not announced, they'll stead those numbers to where they need to get those numbers to overcome the vote. But that everybody turns in their numbers at the exact same time. And nobody turns in their numbers till everybody's ready to turn in their numbers. Because if everybody turns in their numbers at the exact same time, number one, you won't have the media trying to manipulate everything. And number two, you can't fudge it in these big cities like they've been doing. I hope you all have I think I already said this, but I need another sip. Wherever you're at, hope you got something nice and warm to drink or eat, or whatever it is you do, whatever routine you have in the morning. You know, it is 5 o'clock somewhere. Got lots of good stuff to talk about. I don't know why I went off that. I had no intention of doing that. I just wanted to introduce myself, get some other stuff that kind of jumped in my head, so I went down that road. So anyways, if you're watching me, if you're jumping on right now, say hi where you're watching from. I do appreciate everybody getting on. I really do. I do appreciate reading the comments. Even you trolls out there that don't really watch my show, you just troll and you comment. There's a bunch of them on, or there's a few of them on Rumble and on, I think it's the same guy, on YouTube, going, "You're a false prophet." Well, I got news for you, Jack. I'm not a prophet, so I can't be a false one. Just moving on. You know, I'm not, that's not me. It's not who I am. So it's anyways. So if you follow me on Rumble, that's my handle on Rumble. Let's see, that's my handle on YouTube. It's just Mike Cook's, pretty easy to find. I got that A10 in the picture. Gotta love the A10. Ground pounder's best friend. I'm just saying. And then this is me on Telegram, and everything that I put in my show ends up over there. It's where I kind of organize everything now. I used to send it to my wife on Facebook, you know, in Messenger, so I'd have it all. She got tired of that. Anyways, so now I put it over there. That way I can share it in my show. And also you can get a sneak peek kind of thing where I'm thinking a lot of stuff doesn't make it to the show. So follow me. That's the place to be right now. If you don't have Telegram, download the app on your phone. You can get the app for your, you can't run it through Google or something. It's a different program, but you can download it for your computer, and you can check it out there. And it's pretty good. A lot of information on there. You can get a lot of links to people, and maybe I'll do a tutorial here in the future on how to actually use it, because it's a little different than the other socials, and it took me a little while to kind of figure it out. So anyways, on to the meat of the subject. I hope you guys have a great day. Pay attention. Share this video. If you don't share this video, no one's going to know, because Facebook is keeping me down. If you're new to watching me on Facebook or on YouTube, go hit the subscribe button on YouTube and the bell. Go over and hit the follow button. At least you can friend me if you want to. You can try that. If you got your security set real tight on your Facebook, and I understand why you do, I probably won't friend you if I can't tell if you're real. So anyways, I do appreciate that. And I do appreciate all y'all sending me messages and all that stuff. And you know, hate mail, whatever you want to send me is fine. So do you want to send some snail mail? You can do that too. Just send it to MPS Motors. I don't know that I'll pay attention to it, but hey, you know, it's cool. Anyways, and you find that address, just Google it. Anyways, moving on. Back to the subject, to the meat of the thing. So on Twitter, Dan Scavino, if you don't follow him on Twitter or Telegram, I suggest you do that. He puts a lot of things out there, a lot of little tidbits like this. And then the Q and the anonymous guys break it down. They find secret codes and all stuff. I don't know how they do all that. I don't know. I mean, some of the stuff that they come up with is like, wow, that's interesting. And you can get some of that if you go to my Telegram. I'm not going to talk about that stuff here. But so he's been putting this out right here. It says, busy few hours. This was yesterday, I believe. Busy few hours for the 45 team. Behind the scenes, 45office.com. It's at 25,084 people. Share your thoughts. 3,759 people. Greetings. I think this is on their new 45.com or whatever it is page that Trump just put out. 286 press inquiries and 150 scheduling. And then it says that anyways. So that was retweeted by Eldonio Trumpo at Eldonio Trumpo, or he's replying to Dan Scavino. Now, I follow this guy on Twitter. I don't know who this guy is. See, it's got the picture of Donald Trump with a Latin mustache on there, and it's El Donaldo Trumpo, or whatever. It's the Mexican Trump or the Hispanic Trump. Anyways, he's out there. This dude, I mean, you should go to Twitter, and even if you don't have a Twitter account, you should get a Twitter account just for this and go read this guy's tweet. He is trolling like there's no tomorrow. So as he answers Dan Scavino by saying 25,084 thoughts about having Trump back in El White House. 3,759 greeting to tell Trump to get to El freaking White House. 286 press inquiries about when Trump is going to get back in El freaking White House. And 150 appointments to get Trump back in El freaking White House. That just tickled me. And I tell you what, if you read some of these posts, you have to wonder, is it? So Jenna Els has shared a couple of these posts. He says, I love El Donio Trumpo retweets as much as at Real Donald Trump did. Coincidence? I love that El Donio Trumpo retweets me as much as at Real Donald Trump did. Coincidence? I think not, fellow patriots. I don't know. There's been some retweets of him asking the same question. I just find this interesting. And you know me, when I find it interesting, I talk about it. So speaking of interesting, I found this video. Now, here's what I'm going to do. This video is like 3 or 4 minutes long. This is kind of a 17 thing, and they kind of censor this stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play it, and I'm going to pause and talk about it. Just little things. Not really that important, but the pausing and talking about it is more important. Learning from El Rushbo and how he did things, you know, to make things work. So here's a little video I want to play for you.
From the second letter of St. Paul to the Thessalonians. But I would not have you to be ignorant, brethren, concerning them which are asleep, that ye sorrow not, even as others which have no hope. For if we believe that Jesus died and rose again, even so them also which sleep in Jesus will God bring with him. For this we say unto you by the word of the Lord, that we which are alive and remain unto the coming of the Lord shall not prevent them which are asleep. For the Lord himself shall descend from heaven with a shout, with the voice of the archangel, and with the trump of God, and the dead in Christ shall rise first. Then we which are alive and remain shall be caught up together with them in the clouds, to meet the Lord in the air, and so shall we ever be with the Lord. Wherefore comfort one another with these words. This is the word of the Lord.
So I just want to mention, you know who that was reading that, don't you? Just want to throw that out there. Just want to stop for a second, just to keep the, you know, the rhythms flowing, if you know what I mean.
In our schools, our newsrooms, even our corporate boardrooms, there is a new far-left fascism that demands absolute allegiance. If you do not speak its language, perform its rituals, recite its mantras, and follow its commandments, then you will be censored, banished, blacklisted, persecuted, and punished. I am here as your president to proclaim before the country and before the world, this monument will never be desecrated. These heroes will never be defaced. Their legacy will never, ever be destroyed. Their achievements will never be forgotten. And Mount Rushmore will stand forever as an eternal tribute to our forefathers and to our freedom.
You know, and again, I'm pausing for the rhythms to flow. You know, when Trump said things like that, and you go back and you watch some of this stuff that he said, and you think about today and where we are and what's going on, kind of adds a little more to it, doesn't it?
Now, moving on, Wuhan, which is the epicenter of this virus, has raised its flood alert level as heavy rains continue in China. Now, there are still floods in 26 provinces and cities in China, and they're looking now at more than 30 days of ongoing rain, around 35 days in some parts. And this is becoming a very serious issue in many areas of China. They're facing many natural disasters, not just these floods, but also earthquakes, locusts, hail, tornadoes. I mean, you name it, they're facing it right now. The situation in China is very rough. The floods seem to be causing more damage than anything currently. But when you combine it with the other natural disasters, you're looking at about double the amount of damage from just.
This is amazing.
And the deep memo is one of those documents. It's a discovery document. It was given to me by my.
Now, I don't know about that at the end.
Called to the Thessalonians.
I don't know what that is. Starting over. I apologize. I don't know what that is. I just really like that video for some reason. Just wanted to play it. I'm not going to give you too much commentary about it. I did have to stop and pause it to keep the, to keep it flowing, because it would not flow properly if I didn't stop and pause it. Because what would happen is they would probably shut down this feed. I'm just saying. So anyways, I'm not reading your comments. I did jump over and look to see if some of you all were getting to who that person was. I don't want to say it out loud, but you know how it is. So where was I? What was I talking about? Oh, I know. Yes. So here's a little tweet that I found. This is from 337 Tomahawk. I follow him on Twitter. And yes, I'm on Twitter. Twitter's the devil's playground. Oh, it's evil. I don't do much posting on Twitter, but I have a presence there so I can kind of scout around for information. It says freedom started incrementally being removed after 1999. It has now, and let's see, that was 2000, 2001, 2002, 3, 4, 5. That was under a Republican, wasn't it? So-called. It has now been around 21 years. Look at the patterns that have led to this point. They are easy to see if you're looking and not being easily distracted. Know your rights. Stand up for yourself. Others will follow suit and lead more to the fight. And yes, all will follow suit and lead more to the fight. It is not a new type of war, and really, it's fairly old. But when info is traveling like it does today, it's easy prey for non-conventional and informational warfare to occur. Keep an eye out. So pay attention to what's going on around you, because we are in an informational.
My life be like.
Hold on, I got something I want to show you here. We're in an informational war, and everything that you see may or may not be true. So here's a little video. Some of you that are on my Telegram account may have already seen this one. But here's a little video some things
My
aren't
life be
always as
like,
they seem.
yeah. My life be like, yeah.
Now I don't know if those were actual
My life
coronavirus
be like,
views, but
yeah. My life be like,
once
yeah.
we have a little more life left in him. I don't know. I just found that kind of interesting. What's going on around here? Why are we oh, sorry about that. This is not doing what I want it to. Okay. Why are we having all of these? I'm trying to do too many things at the same time. Why are we having all these coincidences happening? A lot of quinkydinks, right? It says here below is this was also on Twitter. Below is a roadmap for vaccine passports published in the European Commission's website on May 20th. It's almost a year ago, 2019. Everyone who warned us about the agenda was dismissed as a conspiracy theorist. We're all conspiracy theorists. Yes, there was an agenda. Yes, we have receipts. Now, I'm not going to try to read all this to you because it's too small. I can't see it. And I'm too blind. But it says a roadmap for the implementation of actions by the European Commission based on the Commission communication and Council recommendations on strengthening cooperations against vaccine preventable diseases. It seems like maybe they have a plan. And to help out with that plan, Biden's team adds a new translator, Eddie Van Halen, because that's going to help. It takes one to know one, right? So it's kind of blowing my mind, right? So I got a couple more things I want to share in regards to that. There's this. I got another video that I'm going to share with y'all. This is a guy who let's just play it. It's a Fox News episode, and I'll just play it for you, and I'll report. You decide.
Pompeo, looking into the origins of COVID-19, and he calls this WHO report a farce. David Asher is now a senior fellow at the Hudson Institute. David, really good to have you with us. I've been following your reports on this, and I just want to point out to everybody before they hear from you that you were the lead investigator in the AQ-Con nuclear procurement network case. You also uncovered a lot of what was going on in North Korea with regard to secret uranium enrichment. You have a deep background in Republican and Democrat administrations. And you say that you believe that this WHO report is a farce. What do you think actually happened?
Well, what exactly happened, only the Chinese can tell us, and they're not about to. They've essentially orchestrated a World Health Organization total whitewash of an investigation that looks under all the rocks except the most likely one, and that is there was a lab leak at the Wuhan Institute of Virology and its associated laboratories, one of which is involved in making vaccines across the street, and that this was a man-made pathogenic weapons vector in development that had very important stealth features that allowed it to spread in a way we've never seen a coronavirus spread. I worked, in addition, against IEDs in Iraq, particularly related to Iran. And the thing about an IED... I'm going to back that up just a little bit. First, let me say that I said the wrong name. It was Ozzy Osbourne in that deal, but that's okay. I digress. Kim Clement said, there is a nation itching for a new kind of war. In his prophecy, the timelines, that was in between impeach and peach. But nay, and in impeach, but no. There's a nation itching for a new kind of war. This nation would come suddenly. Now, let me back this up a little bit. Part of my pausing this again is about the algorithms and stuff. So here we go. In addition, against IEDs in Iraq, particularly related to Iran. And the thing about an IED is it's really a psychological weapon, an economic weapon. It doesn't kill everyone. It scares the heck out of everyone. And deters freedom of movement. And look at what this weapon, intentionally released or not, has done to the world economy and to state society.
Do you believe there's a bioweapons program in China? And do you believe that this virus came from it.
Yeah, I'm quite confident. Secretary Pompeo on the 15th of January issued a statement that there was extensive classified programs going on with the military of China at the Wuhan Institute. And they involve so-called gain of function techniques, which is where you enrich the pathogeneity of a virus to make it more lethal, which sounds like a crazy idea unless you're chasing viruses, which some labs are today for defensive purposes. But let's not forget, this virus is like 3 to 4 generations away from anything occurring in nature. No one would ever deliberately create something like this that turned it into a Frankenstein without being a mad scientist.
You know, one of the things, and you're touching exactly on it, that really jumped out to me in that Redfield interview was when he said, you know, when a virus goes from an animal to a human, he said it takes a long time for that process to happen efficiently and for the human-to-human transmission to start to happen efficiently. He said this thing happens so fast that in his opinion, there's no way that it went directly from an animal to a human and then suddenly became this absolute super virus that was as efficient and as deadly as it was and is.
So let me reiterate. Kim Clement said, there is a nation itching for a new kind of war. Again, this is part of the algorithms.
I mean, that was my personal conclusion, echoing Dr. Redfield. I speak personally, but I looked into a lot of problematic WMD programs that were mysterious in origin and got to the bottom of them successfully. This is one where we only began to get to the bottom of it, but what we learned was so horrifying about the implications of what China is doing with viruses as a weapons vector. Many people said, oh, viruses aren't a very effective weapons vector. Well, look what's happened to the world. And they're not hard to create. I mean, the Chinese are creating superhuman warriors, according to the Director of National Intelligence and their laboratories. They certainly can create a super virus.
You called it potentially the greatest weapon in history, what we have witnessed. I hope you'll come back, David. Really interesting.
And you put that, if some of y'all watched BB's show the other night, last night, with what that guy had to say, that he played a real long discussion talking about some of this stuff. You put that with that, that's kind of interesting. I don't know if I'll go all the way down the road that guy went, but he went down the road for sure. He went way, 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 way down the road. So then there was this article, and I'm going to switch gears here a little bit. There was this article in the Red State. It says the Capitol insurrection charges are falling apart. It shows how dumb our government is. Really, I'm shocked. I tell you, shocked. I sound like Rodney Dangerfield. Anyways, following the events of January 6th at the U.S. Capitol, the government, here's a link to the cases being pursued, blah, blah, blah. Don't click on it. It won't take you there. And especially the media have sought to frame what happened as in the most hysterical terms. There have been claims that the entire seat of government was in danger, that there was a plot to murder the Congress, that Mike Pence was going to be hung, and that what happened amounted to an insurrection fueled by actions of people committing sedition. Big words. That narrative has gone far and wide, including becoming the default position pushed in the press. But while public perception is one thing, what can be proven in a court of law is another. And I said this right after that. I said they're never going to get any of these charges to stick. On the front, it appears that most of the cases being prosecuted, regardless of how many buzzwords like sedition get thrown in, are simply adding up to trespassing. We have the dumbest government. Really, we do. Like we all don't know that. At least your average third world country has an excuse of being a third world country. The United States is supposed to be the shining beacon on the hill. Instead, we have the DOJ and the FBI running around pushing political narratives and proclaiming sedition instead of just prosecuting what was in front of them. And to be sure, there are cases to be prosecuted in front of them. There were people from January 6th who deserve to be arrested for their criminality. You can't trespass into the Capitol, fight with cops, destroy federal property while causing massive lockdowns of elected officials without repercussions. unless you live in Portland. And I'll have to tell you, most of the people who did those things at the Capitol were from Portland, or, affiliated with those people from Portland. We are essentially a nation of laws. But taking what mostly amounted to people walking around taking selfies and trespassing and trying to turn that into a world-shaking insurrection was a massive stretch, in my opinion. It was also blatantly political ploy by people who wanted to use what happened as a partisan critical, I don't know what that word is. I'm sorry. That's how we got the theater of fortifying the Capitol for 3 months. That and other things. You're watching a movie. But they overcharged these people. They went mass hysteria. We had the FBI and the Secret Service talking to a friend of mine right here in Central Missouri who never went in the Capitol. He was there at the rally. He never went inside. And I have several other friends, people around the country who were there, who were questioned by the FBI. I had people threatened with their jobs. I know people that have lost their jobs because they showed up and expressed their political opinion. But political opinions are no longer free speech. Just like this guy said, freedom started incrementally being removed after 1999. It's now been 21 years. Look at the patterns. 1984, right? Atlas Shrugged, right? I mean, we're living in a fictional despot utopia. And in the last 60 days, it's gotten a heck of a lot worse. We have a president, faux president, of the People's Republic of America, who went around saying that he would never be that guy, signing massive amounts of executive orders. And now he's talking about executive orders on guns. Good luck with that. The reason we have guns is because we have guns. Just saying. It's a little harder to deal with, when we're armed to the teeth, when we got more guns than most countries have military. But, what you going to do, right? Hang in there. That's what you're going to do. It just seems like, it's one thing after another, after another, after another with this government. Speaking of, did y'all hear about this one? I'm not really sure how to deal with this one. Is it true? Is it not true? Look, I don't trust any of them right now. Who's on whose side? The deep state is deep. But Representative Matt Gaetz, or Gertz, I don't know how to say his name. Anyways, Matt here, under investigation for the possible sex trafficking alleged relationship with a teenage girl. So what's that all about? Well, let's see here. Let's just look at what he has to say himself. He says, see this. I wonder, I couldn't understand. It's spelt differently. I wonder who checks these things. I'm a dyslexic, uneducated moron, and I could figure out that one thing doesn't look like the other. And so it is Gaetz, I guess. Also denied the allegations during the interview with Axios. The allegations against me are as searing as they are false. I believe that there are people at the Department of Justice who are trying to criminalize my sexual conduct, when I was a single guy. I have definitely, in my single days, provided for women I've dated, paid for flights, for hotel rooms. I've been, generous as a partner. I think someone is trying to make that look criminal when it is not. That's his response to the allegations that came out in the New York Times, which, of course, is the New York Times, which we know is 100% accurate and truthful in all that it ever says and does all the time. The New York Times is the standard for journalism, so they tell you. except for all the things that they got wrong. You know, they'll blast the front page with a scandal. You know, massive evidence and proof that Trump is a Russian spy. And 6 months or a year later, when they find out it was totally fabricated by Trump's enemies, it was paid for by Hillary Clinton, that the Russian dossier was a psyops or operation, that it was complete fraud. On the very last page, they'll put a detraction about this big. Oh, we screwed that one up. Yeah, the New York Times. We know how honest and trustworthy the New York Times is. So, yeah, there is that. Why isn't this getting...
Just a couple of hours ago, late this afternoon,
okay,
the New York...
Hold on a sec. I don't want to play this whole thing because, like I said before, I got another little video I want to play for you. And hopefully this one flows a little better. But this was the Fox News last night where Tucker Carlson interviewed Gaetz about this scandal.
Say that it was or is underway. There was an investigation. What is the basis of that investigation? What is the allegation? That's really not very clear from these news stories.
Yeah, again, I only know what I've read in the New York Times. I can say that actually you and I went to dinner about 2 years ago. Your wife was there, and I brought a friend of mine. You'll remember her. And she was actually threatened by the FBI, told that if she wouldn't cop to the fact that somehow I was involved in some pay-for-play scheme, that she could face trouble. And so I do believe that there are people at the Department of Justice who are trying to smear me, providing for flights and hotel rooms for people that you're dating who are of legal age is not a crime. And I'm just troubled that the lack of any sort of legitimate investigation into me would then convert into this extortion attempt.
I don't remember the woman you're speaking of or the context at all, honestly. But I would like to know who. So they're saying there is a 17-year-old girl who you had a relationship with. Is that true? And who are they? Who is this girl? What are they talking about? The New York Times.
The person doesn't exist. I have not had a relationship with a 17-year-old. That is totally false. The allegation, as I read it in the New York Times, is that I've traveled with some 17-year-old in some relationship. That is false, and records will bear that out to be false.
How long has this investigation been going on? Do you know?
I don't know.
When were you first informed of it?
Again, I really saw this as a deeply troubling challenge for my family on March 16th, when people were, talking about a minor and that there were pictures of me with child prostitutes. That's obviously false. There will be no such pictures because no such thing happened. But really on March 16th was when this got going from the extortion standpoint.
So what happens next? I mean, you can see there is this investigation, I guess a criminal investigation. I'm not quite sure where the sex trafficking part comes in. I don't, again, for the fifth time, I don't really understand the story very well. But where does it go from here? I mean, you've made an allegation against someone by name on the air and accused him of trying to extort millions of dollars from your family. What happens tomorrow?
Well, what was supposed to happen was the transfer of this money that would have implicated the former colleague of his current DOJ officials. But that's obviously not going to happen tomorrow because the New York Times story was leaked in order to quell that investigative effort. So here's what needs to happen next. The FBI and the Department of Justice must release the tapes that are in their possession that were done at their direction. Those tapes will show that I am innocent and that the whole concept of sex charges against me was really just a way to try to bleed my family out of money and probably smear my name because I am a well-known, outspoken conservative, and I guess that's out of style in a lot of parts of the country right now.
So there you go. That's him in his own words. And I guess I could drop back in here. I don't know which way to go with this. Okay. I have no proof either way. I don't know. I'm going to let this play out. I saw it last night from the New York Times. Not much credibility with me. Hope this ain't echoing too bad. It seems maybe it might be echoing in my ear. And just let me know what you think. But I don't know. I don't know what to think about all of that. I don't have any idea. Just put that information out there. Let you guys decide what to think. And if you want more information on that, I've posted a lot of it on my Telegram account. So, and I got one more thing we're going to cover here real quick. If I can get this thing to work. Okay, here we go. Let me load this up. And I got one more video I want to show you, maybe. Okay. Sorry. My computer is being slower than pond water. All right, here we go. All right, so let me pull this up. This is AOC, our good friend AOC. Everybody knows her and loves her. She's such a wonderful, caring person. We all know how much she cares. We all know how much she cares about the border crisis. You remember this picture? You remember this stuff? You remember? I don't think that's her, though. I think that's somebody mocking her. You remember this picture and this picture? You remember those pictures? Remember them? She's so upset out at the border. Well, here she is today.
Well, we're talking about it. They just don't like how we're talking about it because it's not a border crisis. It's an imperialism crisis. It's a climate crisis. It's a trade crisis. This is not a surge. These are children, and they are not insurgents, and we are not being invaded, which, by the way, is a white supremacist idea, philosophy. Well, we're talking about it. They just don't like.
So see, there you have it. There's the problem. Back when it was Trump, it was a tragedy. It was a crisis. We need to do something about it. We need to go down and stand at a fence around a parking lot and cry. And then I put this one up, which I don't think is her. I think it's somebody mocking her. But that's pretty good. But here, they're not insurgents. No. And we're not being invaded. No. No, not at all. That's not what the problem is. That's not what the problem is at all. Well, I don't know why it won't come up. There it is. It's the white supremacists. There it is. We've solved the problem. It's the white supremacists. If it wasn't for white supremacists, there would be no problem at the border. We've solved the problem. AOC has figured out. She's such a genius. She's so smart. She's figured it all out. It's those white supremacists. There are so many white supremacists in America that these people of brown skin, as she would say, are flowing to the border to get here to live with the white supremacists. If we can just get rid of the white supremacists, they'll go back to wherever it is they're from because they won't want to be here with the white supremacists. Oh, literally, these are the people running our country. I mean, is every answer the white guy's fault? Is that the solution? It's all their fault. All the problems in society. She is right about one thing. It is a white guy's fault. The reason all those folks are coming up to the border right now is a white guy's fault. It's Uncle Joe's fault because he said he would let them in and pay for them and give them money. And I don't blame them one bit for wanting to come here. Heck, if I was living in some squalor, as the president would say, shithole of a country, and some organization was going to provide my transportation, a new set of flip-flops and a Biden t-shirt, a cell phone to get up to the border and cross into the United States so that I had a chance, so I had a dream, so that I had a hope of maybe improving my life and the life of my families. My God, I'd do it too. I don't blame them folks one bit for coming down here. Not one bit. But I do blame AOC and her ilk for creating the crisis in order to take advantage of it. You know, we went from this when Trump was president. Oh, what are we going to do? Oh, these poor children in cages. To this. They're not in cages. It's white supremacists. Talk about intellectual dishonesty. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. I don't know what's going to happen, folks. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's coming. I don't know. I don't know what the deal is with the ship. I don't even know where it's at. Just disappeared. As my 18-year-old son would say when he was 2, it magappeared. Supposedly it's at a port being inspected. I don't think we've heard the end of it yet. I think there's more to come. I think there's something happening. Keep looking for the Snowden. For you 17 folks, and I talked about my theory about hunt for Red October. And I keep talking about Red October. And that's about not so much about a submarine as it is about somebody defecting. Somebody, you gotta think about it. This man was a very powerful man that defected. This man was commanding a ship, a submarine that had the ability to destroy the world. A defection of somebody who has the ability to destroy everything. A new Snowden arises. They say we have no protection. They say there'll be much fear. Highly troublesome for the Democrats. And the Republicans will be shaken when a new Snowden arises. So off that Scavino post, I believe it was the Scavino post this was off of, or a collection of posts right around this, the guys that do all the research come up with a 17 post that said, we have the sub. I don't think there is a sub. A sub is nothing. A sub is just like a gun. If I took out the gun that I don't really have on my waistband because I don't have a gun, because I'm a good American, Mr. Biden. Don't come get my guns because I don't have any. But if I pulled out the gun that I don't have on my hip and I laid it right here, on the desk, and I stared at it real hard, nothing would happen. And just like a submarine is useless without people in it making it do what it does. And if I pick up that gun and I operate the mechanical mechanism of that gun, something happens. It starts slinging rocks, just like David did. Only this uses gunpowder, not a sling. Without the mechanical operation of a nuclear submarine is worthless. So take the human beings. So when that post from 17 said, we have the sub, Red October, in my opinion, it means we have the defector. A new Snowden arises. I don't know. I'm just putting things together in my head. I don't know. I'm not predicting. I'm making no timelines. I'm making no promises. Go back and watch that one from last week where I did the prophecies. It's on YouTube and Rumble and wherever. You put it together. You figure it out. You guys have a great day. I do appreciate y'all jumping on. I'm going to get off of here. I got to get to work. It's been busy. Everybody's been stimulated with their money. Everybody's getting their taxes back. I'm selling cars and tires. Been busy. Appreciate it. For once, because December and January was dismal. So, and I need to make hay while the sun's shining because the economy might go like this in the near future. I was going to read you some stuff about silver, but go over to my Telegram page, and there's some articles on there about silver that are kind of in depth. You probably ought to scroll through and read them. It talks about some things, talks about the Perth Mint, that they're just about out of silver and stuff like that. I even had a whole deal I was going to talk about, but I didn't get there. Run out of time. Maybe tomorrow. Talk to y'all later. Please like, comment, and share. Share this video. Follow me on Telegram. That's it right there. Just type in that T when you get there, t.me/Patriot Mike Thoughts. That'll get you right there. And then or you can type in Patriot Mike channel in the search. That will come up too. If you go to Rumble, that's me on a Rumble, and I got all my videos loaded on there. And I also go live on YouTube if you don't want to do it on Facebook. So you can go over there and watch. So I do appreciate everybody jumping on. If you don't share this, if you want somebody else to know what we're talking about, if you like what I'm saying, but if you don't share it, no one else will know, because Facebook ain't going to do it. YouTube ain't going to do it. You guys have a great day. Catch y'all later.